Hello there, it's good to have you here. I'm the Last Mixter and welcome back to something a little bit different for Primal Carnage Extinction. For this video we'll be ranking all of the Team Deathmatch maps, and that means most of the ones available in the game, excluding a few that are either Get to the Chopper exclusive or are only available on free roam servers. Get straight to number 19, otherwise known as Last Place with Contingency. Son of a nutsack. Why does this map even exist? Well, these days it seems to have a lover-hater reputation among the player base, and you can probably guess which side of the fence I'm on. For starters, it's a relatively poorly designed map that heavily favors humans, and it's been a long time since I have seen the dinos win on this map. I always get sniped in the ass or the face when playing as a dinosaur, and that brings me to my next point, where a class that is already annoying as heck on maps that don't favor humans gets long sightlines and open areas. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Now, you might be wondering why it's called Contingency, and boy, let's talk about that, shall we? The feature known as Contingency Protocol is about as helpful as a Kardashian in a survival situation.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
Basically, each human gets a keycard by default, which they can use on this terminal thing to be an annoying donkey.
Fucking donkey!
And get both teams to panic and start running all over the place. When you activate the terminal, it starts a countdown. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, as the announcer doesn't actually specify until the timer hits 5 seconds. When this happens, your main goal goes from killing everyone to running for your life to get inside the building, as everywhere else outside of the main complex is susceptible to electric shock therapy when time runs out. This also counts as a death in your KD score, so have fun with that if you already weren't having a great game. However, even this doesn't work how it's supposed to sometimes, as you can actually occasionally survive the shock by standing still as both a human and a dinosaur.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Although it seems to work more often with the humans, could just be me though. It's totally possible that this was an intentional feature of the map. I'm still not sure to this day, but I have seen human players keep moving and survive it, so I'm more inclined to say that it just might be broken. It disrupts the flow of the game so badly, which is my main complaint. It's the only map that I actively avoid playing on, even as human, and well, now you know why.
Okay.
On to number 18, where we have Forgotten Outpost. I don't hate this map's design, but the problem here is that it's so heavily in favor of the dinosaur team. This is mostly because there are like 2 crates and 1 log where humans are safe from tyrants. It's usually not too long before the dinos are running away with the game, and if a bunch of good players are playing the dinos, things get even worse. I honestly don't remember the last time I saw the humans even leading in a game on this map, never mind winning a round. I think it's a cool map for exploration, and could be a neat setting for a dinosaur horror experience if the area was expanded a bit and more buildings were added, but for Team Deathmatch it just doesn't work in the slightest. Moving on to number 17, where we have Forest Chasm, the map that I have named Bird Spam, which kinda sounds like a can of spam made from birds, but no, it's just a nickname for another map that's skewed in the favor of the dinosaurs. The humans usually lose here, and that is in no small part due to the role that the flyers play on this map. It is by far the easiest map to do well on as the Flying Boys, mainly due to the huge chasm smack dab in the middle of the map, which of course gives it its name. Tyrants can do really well here too, as there isn't too many spots for the humans to escape them, apart from 3 ledges, this main one in particular being a spot where the humans love to gather. These 2 ledges here are decent spots for sniping as well, if that's your thing, and is also a tip for the dinos, as I usually tend to find at least a couple snipers here over the course of a round, and by find I mean get my head blown off. Number 16 is the snow version of Forest Chasm, which is a winter wonderland. It doesn't differ too much from the main version, the biggest change being that this area here is a safe zone from tyrants and has ice with slippy, slidey effects, perfect for taking your date skating near the crashed helicopter and dino corpses. I think I like it a little more because of this safe area, and the snow looks cool. Ha! Oh, what? You don't like my joke? Well, you can chill out. On to number 15, where we have a map that is on the opposite end of the spectrum, and it's called Sandstorm Valley.
I don't like sand.
As the name suggests, the main feature of this map is that every so often Emotep will rise from his tomb and blow his load everywhere, covering absolutely everything in sand.
What?
It makes visibility pretty much nil for both dinos and humans.
This is outrageous.
It's unfair.
So sensor mines and the flyer's reveal abilities come in extra handy here. It's not a horrible map, but there's pretty much nowhere for humans to hide from tyrants, so once again the dinos can do pretty well here, but the open areas can benefit the sniper and commando as well. It's not quite as skewed in favor of the dinos as Forgotten Outpost is, but it's also not super far off. At number 14 we have Dead Tide, a very aesthetically pleasing map, no doubt there. Unfortunately for me, all the beautiful loveliness drops my frames more than any other map and gets a lot worse on full servers, and it's not like I have a bad computer or graphics card. It's also once again heavily in favor of the dinos, and it's just another case where the humans struggle to get a foothold anywhere. I think if they added a couple more safe spots from tyrants it might be higher up on the list, but at this point in time, number 14 is pretty fair I think. Lucky number 13 is Utility Base, a map that has risen slightly in my rankings for this video, moving past both Dead Tide and Sandstorm. It's a decent map in terms of design. I think the layout with the main walled complex surrounded by the outer wilds is pretty cool, and this arch at the back is a neat feature as well, and tends to have a few snipers on it in most games. The reason it's so low though is the spawn points for humans can mean you have to run quite a ways to get back to your team if you die, which can lead to deaths in the middle of nowhere, similar to Forest Chasm. The Spitter classes tend to camp on the roof of the building, so watch out above you if you happen to be of the human species. Another thing I don't like is the inside of the main building. It used to be safe from tyrants, but now they can get in here. This wouldn't be the worst change if the tyrant hitboxes weren't screwed, as the tyrant mouths can phase through solid objects sometimes, and that includes this ramp. So it might seem like you're safe, but then you're in the belly of a tyrant, and on the floor in the dark, crying in your underwear. Oh. Just me, hey. Anyway, let's move on swiftly to number 12, which is the snow version of Utility Base. The main difference here being that the main building is completely safe from tyrants, and everything is all snowy and peaceful. Well, at least until the carnage starts, but before then it's pretty chill. Oh. What? Still don't like my puns? Well, maybe you should go cool off. At number 11, we have a map that you'll probably never get to play a match on, as I myself have only seen it in the rotation of one server, and it also had no limits to tyrants and decreased gravity. It's called Volcano, and is rather hot. I think it looks pretty sick, and I'm not sure why it's not on other servers. Maybe it crashes the game, as I have heard maps being removed from a rotation because of that, or maybe there's a voting system for the maps on those servers, and it just never made the cut. Whatever the case, I think it's kind of a shame because it's unlike any other map in the game, and I can always appreciate something more when it shakes up the overall gameplay of Primal Carnage, but oh well, maybe someday it will show up to bless us all with its fiery glory. Moving into the top 10 now, we have Desertion Point, a map that I'm not entirely sure how I feel about. It's got a really unique mix of looks, being a logging/construction site with a lovely autumn aesthetic, but has some ridiculous sightlines, meaning that once again the scientists can dominate with a capital D for Death by Sniper Rifle. These log piles also seem to have some weird collision issues for tyrants and bruisers. An okay map that deserves a middle-of-the-road ranking. Okay, now that we are at number 9, from this point on we are getting into the maps that I quite like, starting here with Marsh. This was one map that I had a hell of a lot lower initially, but with the recent changes that it got, I have come to enjoy playing on it as both dinosaur and human. It still favors the dinos for sure, but with the change to this area back here that made it more open, it has helped the humans a little because this was already one of the main spots where the humans would group up. The crashed plane in the center is cool as well, and very much gives me Jurassic Park 3 vibes. Snowstorming in to number 8, we have Snowbound. This map is basically the snowy equivalent of Sandstorm, as every now and then a blizzard will roll in to give you a taste of what it's like living in Canada. The map is once again slightly in favor of the dinosaurs, but much less so than others like Dead Tide or Forgotten Outpost, and I think that's mostly because of the snowy environs, where there is less foliage and places for dinos to sneak around. There are also some nooks and crannies under archways and cliffs where you can escape from tyrants, and you can bet if it didn't have these, the map would be a lot lower down on the list. Also, on this part of the map, if you look off into the distance, you can see an ice-covered vehicle hanging off of a broken bridge, which, I don't know, just very post-apocalyptic, and that's a vibe that I very much approve of. Moving on to 7th place, where we have Waterlogged, the newest map for the game. While the spawns for this map were initially screwed to absolute absolute hell. Check out this video of mine when the map first came out if you want to see what that was like. They fixed up those issues, and the map is in a pretty good place right now. The concept for this one was one of the best ideas anyone has ever had for a map in a dinosaur game, in my opinion. It's a prehistoric marine reptile research / experimenting facility with regular dinosaurs in test chambers, a cryogenics area, and even steam vents and broken electrical generators that can harm or kill you. Not to mention the ambient sounds of rushing water, dripping pipes, and creaking structures. It all adds up to quite the awesome aesthetic, which is probably my main reasoning for liking the map, as well as it being one of the few maps that the flyers can do well on due to all of the drop-offs into the water. Humans can do well here too, as it's mostly man-made structures, so the dinos don't have as much foliage to lurk around in. Number 6 on our list is Verdant. This is a pretty good example of a fairly balanced map, as most of the classes on both sides, with the exception of the flyers, can do pretty well. I find the spitters in particular to be pretty good here, as there's a lot of foliage to hide in, as well as a bunch of corners to bob and weave around. The trapper is a solid human choice here, as there are quite a few choke points and small entrances to place landmines at. The main place the humans like to hold up is the main building here, as you might expect. Overall, a good map. I like it. On to number 5, and now we have arrived at my favorite maps in the game. The first of which is Borealis. It's a mountain research facility with all of the expected dinosaurs in test chambers, and of course the phenomenon that gives the map its name, the Aurora Borealis, which honestly looks beautiful in any game. I would say that the dinos have a slight edge here, and there really isn't that many places for humans to hide from tyrants, but there are enough open spaces and decent sightlines that the humans can certainly dominate, especially if they hold up in this main complex. I really like the vibe here too. You got polar winds howling through the whole area, and the sound of shifting ice in the cavern here. Good stuff. On to a very different map now, that being Transfer, which comes in at number 4. This is one of them few maps that favors humans, as not only is it the smallest map in the game, but there are just so many little nooks and crannies to plop down throwables like gas mines and landmines, but also hidey holes like crates to hide from big boys trying to munch on you. The Trapper, Pyro, and even the Pathfinder can do really well here due to the abundance of choke points in close quarter areas. On the dino side of things, Tyrants are actually kinda not great on this map, and the Flyers can really struggle here as well, but one can do well with something like the Pachycephalosaurus because of its fast speed, and the Spitters in particular are probably the best all-around choice here, as they can flush the humans out of their hiding spots, and the Cryo can melt all the mines that tend to get placed down, leaving the Raptors and Bruisers to clean house. Overall, a good map that for once makes it so that the Tyrants aren't always dominating. Moving into the top 3 now, where the bronze medal goes to the Falls. 80% of the area is enclosed by a massive dome with a river running through, leading to, well, the falls part of the falls. It's the perfect place for falling in love with that special someone. The building back here, like every other building in this game, is the main spot to hold up as a human, as well as this mini dome, and the ramp area over here by the cliffs. The Tupa and Carnotaurus can do really well here, especially if the humans group up on the ramp, as they can often send them flying off to their deaths. Tyrants also tend to succeed here in most matches that I see, and I find the Scientist and Trapper to be quite good on this map for the human side. As we move into second place with our silver medal finalist, things get even more dark and spooky with Airbase. It's got a big abandoned hangar in the center and some smaller buildings and wrecked aircraft around the outside, and as you might have noticed, it's raining. And no, it never stops, so I hope you like this aesthetic because there's no weather cycle here. The thunder and lightning are a huge part of why I like this map. Throw down a flare, get a T-Rex, and you basically have the breakout scene from the first Jurassic Park movie. The map does have some ridiculous sightlines for Scientist players, as for the most part each side of the hangar is a fairly straight shot to the other side of the map, but the reason I don't mind this as much here is because things are just so dark, and good luck finding the smaller dinosaurs if they have darker skin patterns. This makes both the Commando and Trapper good choices here, as well if you want to go the spray and pray route, while the Spitters and Raptors are deadly on this map for the dinos. Overall, it's just such a unique map, and I'm always up for a little darkness and rain in my dino game. Okay folks, with that we have arrived at our gold medal champion. Coming in at first place is Docs. Yeah, go figure that 3 of the first 5 maps released for the original Primal Carnage would end up in the top 3 in the sequel, being the best maps in both games, and it would all go downhill from there. Docks has always been my favorite map, and the main reason for me is balance. While other maps are skewed towards one team or the other, on Docks, any class can do well, and I do mean any of them. There are equal opportunities for tyrants to eat humans if they get caught out in the open, but enough spots to hide and fire away from your little safe house as a human. The flyers can dominate on the cargo ship, dropping humans into the water for an insta-kill, while scientists can pick off the smaller classes from afar with some decent sightlines, and the smaller dinos can dodge and weave around corners and foliage to flank grouped up humans, but can run into problems if there are too many trappers or pyros. With the additions of a sunny aesthetic and coastal ambience like seagulls and the sound of crashing waves and the creaks and groans of a long-abandoned ship and crane, it's just awesome. Balanced, as all things should be. The map, that is, not the game. Primal Carnage Extinction still has some rather major issues with team stacks and general balancing that affects the gameplay, no matter what map you're playing on. I'll be talking a little bit about this in my next video, which will probably be the last video for the game until another update drops. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then consider giving it a like and subscribing. If you are subscribed, hit that bell so you don't miss any new videos. I always appreciate the support. Much love. Take care, and until next time, have a good one.